The invitation arrived like a quiet insult sealed in politeness, sent to a man who had learned long ago not to expect kindness from crowded rooms or glittering tables. Nathan had spent his life being overlooked, underestimated, and quietly laughed at when he wasn't in the room. And on that evening in downtown Chicago, he walked into a restaurant glowing with chandeliers and wealth, knowing in his bones that he did not belong there. His co-workers had dressed the idea as a gift, a chance, a joke coated in charm. But beneath it was the familiar weight of mockery. He wore his only tailored shirt, carried himself with borrowed confidence, and told himself that dignity did not require approval. The hostess guided him past crisp linen tables and polished laughter, and somewhere inside that warmth and noise, fate waited in a form he never imagined, not as ridicule but as rescue disguised as coincidence. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet miracles, take a moment now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Nathan had grown up in rural Ohio with hands trained for work and a heart trained for endurance. He studied at night, worked through the day, and learned early that survival left little room for dreaming. By the time he landed an entry-level position at a massive corporate firm in Chicago, he had already accepted that he would always be background noise in a world that celebrated the loud and privileged. His coworkers saw his silence as weakness, and his humility as something to play with. The blind date had been their idea of entertainment, placing him into a world of polished ambition and inherited power just to watch him struggle to breathe in it. Across the room sat Claire, the daughter of the company's legendary founder, a woman raised among boardrooms and billion-dollar deals, known for her guarded nature and fierce independence. She had agreed to the date out of rebellion. More than romance, tired of carefully curated introductions that felt like business mergers instead of human connection. When her eyes met Nathan's for the first time, something strange happened in the air between them, a quiet understanding neither could explain, as if two souls used to being misunderstood had recognized each other instantly in a room full of strangers. The evening moved forward with an odd tenderness neither expected. Nathan did not boast, did not hide behind polished ambition, and did not pretend to be something he was not. His words came carefully, shaped by sincerity rather than strategy, and Claire listened not as an heiress, but as a woman starved for truth. He spoke of the mother who raised him alone after his father passed in a warehouse accident, of long nights studying under flickering lamps, of failure that taught him patience and success that taught him gratitude. Claire shared less of her world, but felt herself leaning toward his simplicity like a refuge. Across the restaurant, unseen eyes watched with widening confusion as the joke began to lose its punch. The co-workers who had planned the evening whispered in disbelief as Claire's attention never wavered from the man they had sent as entertainment. What had begun as a setup unraveled into something disarmingly genuine, and by the time the check arrived, the room felt different, as if the world had shifted a fraction of an inch off its old cruel axis. The days that followed tested more than hearts. They tested reputations, loyalty, and the invisible walls between social classes. Rumors spread through office corridors and executive lounges alike, twisting truth into speculation and turning affection into scandal. Nathan felt the familiar weight of judgment return heavier than before, now sharpened by jealousy and disbelief. He was summoned into meetings where polite smiles carried warning, and opportunity wore the face of threat. Claire, meanwhile, faced a storm of her own, her family, questioning her choices with concern disguised as disappointment. Yet where fear should have lived, resolve began to grow. Nathan almost backed away, convinced that loving her would only cause damage to a world he did not belong to. But something in Claire's unwavering presence reminded him that worth is not granted by approval, but proven by persistence. They built their connection quietly, away from glass towers and whispering hallways, in parks where laughter felt honest and coffee shops where no one knew their names. The joke had ended, but the story it sparked was only beginning. The truth revealed itself brutally one afternoon, when the co-worker's prank was finally exposed during a corporate gathering. Its careless cruelty laid bare in front of leadership and peers. What followed was not humiliation for Nathan, but a reckoning for those who had treated kindness as currency and people as props. Claire did not shield herself behind her status. Instead, she stood beside the man they had underestimated and turned their ridicule into accountability. In that moment, Nathan learned that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it stands quietly at your side when the room turns cold. The weeks that followed reshaped his life in ways he never sought but now embraced. Opportunities opened not because of privilege, but because his character had finally been seen. Claire's world did not swallow him whole as he once feared. Instead, it met him halfway, reshaped by the humility he carried so naturally. What began as mockery became a mirror for everyone who witnessed it, reflecting how easily dignity can be dismissed and how powerfully it can rise when defended with sincerity. As seasons passed and the city shifted from harsh winter into forgiving spring, their bond deepened not as a spectacle but as a steady anchor. Nathan no longer walked with borrowed confidence, and Claire no longer carried the loneliness of expectation alone. They did not rewrite the rules of the world, but they bent a few in the direction of grace. The prank that was meant to break him became the doorway to a future he never dared to imagine, and the heiress who was never supposed to choose freely found her freedom not in rebellion, but in alignment with truth. Love did not arrive as fireworks, but as warmth after a long cold, subtle yet life-altering. If this story stirred something inside you, if it reminded you of hope or healing, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe so more hearts can find stories like this. Before the ending, leave a comment sharing the moment in this story that touched you the most, because your voice matters here. In the end, what endured was not the scandal, not the gossip, and not the wealth that once overshadowed everything, but the quiet miracle of two lives intersecting where cruelty once stood. Nathan's journey from mockery to meaning was not just about love, but about dignity reclaimed, and Claire's choice was not about status, but about seeing a man for who he truly was. Together, they became proof that even the cruelest jokes can be transformed into testimonies of grace, and that sometimes the most powerful turning points in life arrive disguised as humiliation, waiting only for courage and kindness to reveal their purpose.